Welcome back. This is what you wake up to on the front page of The Standard this morning. Surprise order on IBC bosses split leaders. Beginning of at the end, as we have it there, leaders sharply divided on implications of court judgment, with some saying it spells doom for the National Dialogue Report and others insisting that the talks address wider issues not addressed in the court case. The story is tucked away on page 4 of The Standard. The dialogue team is only anchored by a way of a motion in Parliament and through gazettement. The document says this joins a long list of reports that have ended. They've ended up wasting public resources and time. This is according to Jeremiah Kioni. Also, remember today you have the Pulse magazine coming in handy for you. Who is the next king? You can read all about it inside the Pulse magazine for the young and young at heart. High alert over red eye disease. Authorities they are warning Kenyans to keep their hands off their eyes as outbreak first reported in Lamu and Malindi spreads with new cases in Kisii and Nairobi. So wash your eyes, wash your hands, avoid touching your eyes. You can read the rest of the details on how you can actually go about making sure you keep yourself on page 9 of The Standard. And Ruto tells of those opposed to leasing of state sugar mills. President William Ruto says the government's plan to lease out struggling sugar farms was in line with improving the efficiency through a radical management shift to return them to profitability. That story can follow it on page 7 of The Standard. MPs furious over housing levy cuts. That is another story that you want to follow there. Goons raid War Memorial Hospital handover. Right, this is the worrying factions that is happening with the War Memorial Hospital in Nakuru. The Daily Nation riddle of fire school. Riddle of free. I think fire has been on my tongue since 6 a.m. Riddle of free school. Low government competition and rising commodity prices force new levies. Free primary and secondary education introduced in 2003 and 2008 respectively saw a surge in enrollment as it rescued children from poor families. But hefty levies are undermining its purpose. The story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. CJ Koome under siege, judiciary under attack. The timing of a petition seeking the removal of Chief Justice Martha Koome from office in the middle of a vicious fight pitting the judiciary against the executive and the section of the legislature has set tongues wagging, and the fact that it is coming days after the government lost key court cases, further infuriating politicians allied to the ruling coalition, is fueling the speculation. And you can follow the story on page 7 of the Daily Nation. Opposition MPs want a refund of housing levy, and 50,000 interns yet to secure public jobs. State firms pressed to absorb entire group. That story is tucked away, laid out for you on page 19 of the Daily Nation this morning. Return of ruthless Kanjo spreads fear. Brutal crackdown by county enforcement officers that has not spared members of county assemblies has outraged Kenyans. County bosses are under pressure to rein in askaris who have gone rogue. You can follow the story inside the Daily Nation this morning. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Star 2027 race, inside Weta's secret political moves. Kingpin, a probing question there. He's acquired a chopper, branded it with the party colors. He's said to be beefing up his campaign machine and building heavy war chest. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. And President Ruto in busy 2-day visit to Western that is happening in Bungoma. You can see a stand silent, or they're saying stand silent. President William Ruto during the handing over of Naitiri SA Township Primary School in Tongaren, Bungoma County on Thursday. And white butterflies harmless, experts assures Kenyans. Right, you've seen these white butterflies every which way. In Nairobi recently, maybe you were concerned what is happening. Maybe the Green Thinking Action Party chair will have, or leader can actually tell us what is happening with the white butterflies. But experts are assuring Kenyans that the white butterflies being sighted in some parts of the country are harmless. Dr. Moore Kasina told the Star the white butterflies known as Belenois aurota. Belenois aurota are migrating from place to place. That is Belenois aurota. They are migrating from place to place. At least I've learned something today. They're called Belenois baurota butterfly. It's such a mouthful, and it feels nice on the tongue as well, rolling easily. And CS Bore disowns 30K directive, that is 30,000 shillings directive on pay for guards. This has been it has been challenged in the courts right now, where that will have been the minimum wage for the guards. Remember also, you have a pull-out magazine inside the Star, why Raila should run again in 2027 election to succeed President Ruto. That is on page 10 of the Star. And CBC, this is a ticking time bomb. Learners in grade 9 require environments with furnished laboratories, libraries, and adequate classrooms, which are not available. This is what experts are saying. And the story is on page 4 of the People Daily this morning. And why petitioner wants Koome out. This is a man who wants Koome out. And fresh rules for owners to register Airbnb rentals. And on top here, Azmi MPs now demand refund of housing levy. You know it by now. All the gritty details inside the People Daily this morning. Let me jump over to Business Daily. The big fight inside Treasury and CBK. The big fight inside Treasury and CBK. Debt office clashes with CBK on draw. CBK accused of overrunning debt. Boss. All right, this, remember, there has been a debate to uncouple or unbundle Treasury. From also the Ministry of Finance, there has been that particular scuffle. This is now between Treasury and CBK on the debt issue. The debt of this country still is not really an appropriate figure or an exacting figure that we've been giving from different departments. They give different figures as far as the sovereign debt is concerned. Cooperative Bank raises daily ATM cash limit to 60,000 shillings. Cooperative Bank of Kenya has raised its daily ATM automated teller machine, that is, withdrawal limit by 50% to 60,000 shillings as banks start reviewing their daily transaction ceilings to reflect the reduced spending power among customers. The weakening Kenyan shilling has left customers worse off, given that they need more money to buy the same amount of goods. The purchasing power of 1,000 shillings note, for instance, has fallen by nearly half in the past decade, which means that it can only buy half of what it bought 10 years ago. And the Cooperative Bank has informed the customers of the review, the first in nearly a decade, that will enable those who need to withdraw amount above 40,000 to use the over 600 ATMs across the country instead of lining up at the branches. This is how Kenyans are suffering right now. Inflation, money at the bank that we think is what this, it could be half of it that you think maybe you're valued at if you are pegging. There's something you wanted to say?
Which is a ticker, just a hold there.
A ticker?
The ticker.
Yes, the ticker there, leasing farm.
Leasing farm really put under administration on 1.1 billion default. Does that give you a signal?
It does, and of course
because how many contracts does it have with government on leases?
You can imagine.
That is a signal. So 1.1 being put on default, so which means that we are going to have a reverberation. There will be a snowballing effect.
The ripple effect of it.
And therefore, losses, we are counting on losses because, and perhaps even those who are engaging with it, whether it's the Treasury or other ministries that have cars leased from this company, we are going to see the effects. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm just saying it's a ticker. It's somewhere, small news, it's in a small place, but it's big news.
It's big news. All right, that's big news. You can read that story on page 6 of the Business Daily. And also, courts stops pay rise for private guards. That is a story to follow as well. And the firms now holding 70% of total dollar deposits in Kenya. Corporates raised the dollar shares of their deposits in bank to 70% by September last year, amidst a biting shortage that has disrupted purchases of critical raw materials from the global market. That is a story that you want to follow inside the Business Daily. In Uganda, S1 points needed to join top schools. I won't belabor the points. You have the headline there because of time. And the experts also predict good year for local financial markets. That is happening in Tanzania, according to the Citizen. And today's editorial cartoon, look at that. This is all about the housing levy. And you know now the Speaker of the National Assembly has also gone to the courts. It's been a busy week for the courts. And that is the floater to try and save the housing canal that is sinking there. What will be the way forward? We'll give you, and we shall be discussing this with the panelists as well. That is the latest from the housing levy as we know it right now. And I won't stop, right? This is hate emission, and you can see who is a pilot there. The judiciary cannot stop him. He's unstoppable. We had the president speaking to an international media there regarding their hate emission, that regardless of what the court has said, he's not rowing back. He goes full steam ahead. And you can see the hate emission plane is taxiing, is ready to fly. That is the latest. I won't stop. We shall be looking at this with...
You know that it's not been given a clearance.
Remember, it's been told, hey.
Yeah, but he's ramming through the gavel there as is being raised. And why Africans' currencies are losing weight? Have you weighed yourself there lately? And you can see what is jutting out from... Are those maggots or what? And band-aids all over. This is the Kenyan shilling, the way it is suffering right now. Weighing on the scale is losing and falling precipitously, as we can say it. It's on a free fall.
Can you imagine in Zambia?
In Zambia.
The local currency has been at 16 shillings, 16 kwacha to the dollar. Now it is at 26 today. That's the way it is, and it is...
In a span of how long?
Yes.
In a span of how long?
In a span of maybe 1.5 to 2 years. You can imagine how crazy that can be. It has really made things to skyrocket.
So we're talking about the Africa Free Continental Trade Area.
Yeah.
Africa, intertrading, I mean intertrade between ourselves, and we've always been talking about, oh, we need to lose the dollar. Maybe that should have happened way before.
There are small things that we need to be able to be thinking and being proactive in doing. Just very simple, they look not serious, yet very high in impact. You know, if we just woke up today and start exhibitions globally, or in the international phase, in UK, in having conferences of showcasing Kenyan products out there, the impact that would be coming in is mind-boggling. To the eye of the people, it might look very simplistic, but working out to identify an outlet of Kenyan produce and products, any effort that is going to bring in more foreign currency must be encouraged. There are many other things, working on SMEs, making sure that they are given finance and supported in many ways that they can create employment opportunities. There is nothing wrong, by the way, about the housing as it is, because it is a great project. The only thing is that we must respect the Constitution, we must respect the rule of law, we must make sure that things are done in the best way possible. These are things that are going to help our country to move in the right direction. Action that must be needed and must be taken is what must be done at a time like this. And as I said, some of the things may look very trivial and may look so simplistic, but I know as an ecopreneur for over 34 years now, I understand the impact of these things that must be interrogated, because we are always thinking macro and we need to go micro to be able to get things better in our country.
Right. I'll give it, before we settle down to, can I just, I want to just run us by the story so that we go sequentially. I know we've been thrown off a bit with the Embakasi blast, but we'll be following that story as well. It took your time? Because he saw, he had noticed something. He had noticed something with you. That's why.
I'm watching
no, this one we cannot wait long.
We cannot wait long. It's burning.
That statement is serious. There's nothing wrong with the housing levy. You see, those are very weighty statements. And then trying to say that...
I'm not talking about housing levy. I'm talking about housing project.
Okay.
Please get, I'm very careful about my
Housing
words.
living
When
and
you say
project.
housing project,
Yes.
the project is housing levy. So anyway,
Well,
because
no,
people listening,
It looks deflated. Once you're saying
Yes.
the housing project is gone down.
you see, housing project. What is housing project? It's housing levy because that's what we have.
No,
as a
no,
No,
country.
let's separate the two things.
No.
It is, there's
Professor,
nothing
that is
wrong,
not
and you
true.
said it, there's nothing wrong with
What is the housing project?
What you are saying
No.
is the process and the...
It's okay.
Yeah.
Let me go there.
But this is a matter of semantics. When we talk about a housing project and a housing levy, they're tied together.
Yeah.
The
And this is what
power of a housing project in a country and the need to provide housing for the people of this country is timely.
When you
There
call
is
it
no
project,
question about that.
you know when you call it
Okay?
project, when senior,
Well,
when you
you're
call
a
it
professor.
project,
You're
when
a
you call it
professor. So
project,
let me just say, I'm not talking about levy. I'm talking about the importance of getting people living in a dignified
that's
manner.
fine.
Yes.
That's
Period.
fine.
And
When you say
I don't think you
housing
can argue
project,
about it.
when you say housing project, a project must have when it begins, when it ends. It cannot just be a project. A project, when you say project, there must be something ongoing. What's ongoing in Kenya is affordable housing under the housing levy and name it. Anyway, sorry for that. My point I was trying to draw, which is serious on the issue when you talk about the Kenya shilling, are simple things. Let me tell you what, Kenyans' products are uncompetitive. It does not matter how much you advertise them. The cost of production in Kenya is terrible. And we have been seeing figures going down. For example, the production manufacturing to GDP used to be around 8.6%. It's gone to 7.2%. The products are competitive because taxes are too high. In fact, the simplest things is what the government is not doing. The simple things, just even simple arithmetic. Chinese, first of all, went and did a fantastic job to make their manufacturing well. Now when they do exhibitions in Kenya, you come there and you're like, okay, there's no other way. They have beaten everybody by working back home. You cannot be going outside and doing exhibitions when you're the most... In fact, some countries will come to exhibit in Kenya so that people can go buy from them. So the cost of advertising, creating a shelf space, creating demand, is very, very high. But when you create it for somebody, it does not work, like what happens in the Kenya Tourism Board. A big budget to bring people from abroad to come to this country to buy foreigners' products. Like when a Russian lands here, they come with a Russian plane. They go live in a Russian hotel, not owned by Kenyans. Kenyans are just watching in the beach, you understand? So I'm trying to say that we need to make Kenyan products competitive, and that should be a priority. And I do not care what the president says. I don't want to know how many exhibitions are being done. What I care about is that, are we lowering the cost of energy? Are we making taxes appropriate? Are we having a foreign policy? Are we having a fiscal policy that is stable enough to predict what will happen tomorrow? Those are more critical. Before you can't leave your bedroom and shout when you're naked. You have to ensure that before you leave your bedroom, you are well prepared.
Let me just respond in a minute. So when I'm talking about being practical, and I need to mention that in 1991, I was making and working with women to prepare handicrafts and sell internationally to Japan, to the US, to other places. Those things, nothing has changed today. If Kenya put together the Juakali sector in the best way possible and produce things in the best way possible, I'm talking about micro things that can be able to change the lives of our people. If we were out there looking out for the next exhibition of the World Expo and having a Kenya house where you are producing items and they are going out there, where you are approaching biggest malls and a chain of stores internationally to place Kenyan products, going out there to bring out our coffee that is produced by our farmers, our tea, going to the CE certification, getting out there, people that are focused not on the trip and the expenses of traveling, but on attacking a market in a strategic manner, getting membership of international institutions. Our honey doesn't need any kind of technical issues that can be done. our chicken, which can be produced and slaughtered in a very nice way, CE certified, that you can be able to produce, and our goats and every meat that we can be able to do. That is what I am talking about, even as a professor deals with the macro things where this can happen. Let's start with the known.
Thank you.
And then we'll be able to get out there in a manner that's going to help our country.
I want just to put the discussion in perspective where it all began, because I think all this, when we're talking about housing levy, when we're talking about the shilling falling, it is all pegged on Finance Act, it's all pegged on the housing levy, and it all began also with the judiciary, where we have a petitioner who has filed a petition for the removal of Chief Justice Martha Koome for allegedly disregarding requirements of law in Nakuru. Goons also descended on a controversy-ridden War Memorial Hospital shortly after area police boss was ordered to, of course, return the facility. We shall be looking at that as well. But this just run that story of the judiciary. I have my auto cue mixed up with many stories there.
In May 2023, Chief Justice Martha Koome appointed some 22 persons to serve as members of the Tax Appeal Tribunal for 3 years. 9 months later, the appointments have come back to haunt the country's 15th Chief Justice through a petition filed before the Judicial Service Commission. According to the petitioner Michael Kojo Otieno, who is a human rights activist, Chief Justice Martha Koome went against the law while making the appointments and thus is unfit to hold the office of the Chief Justice of Kenya. Otieno argues in his petition that while the Tax Appeal Tribunal Amendment Act 2022 states that the Tax Appeal Tribunal shall consist of a chairperson and not less than 15 but not more than 20 other members, Martha Koome failed to comply with the act by appointing 22 members. For appointing 2 more persons than the required maximum number, Otieno is convinced that Chief Justice Martha Koome failed to exhibit respect for the rule of law, failed to comply with the law, and failed to act in a manner that promotes public confidence. The petitioner further states that Koome failed to conduct herself in a manner that promotes honest, dignified, and impeccable manner, discriminated against persons who applied at the Tax Appeal Tribunal as members, and burdened Kenyan taxpayers with 2 members who are not budgeted for.
It came to my attestation that on 10th May 2023, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya did not comply with the provisions, express clear provisions from prima facie evidence on recruitment of members at the Tax Appeal Tribunal. Whereas the powers which had been conferred upon the Chief Justice, she relied on an old law instead of a new law.
Otieno believes that it is of utmost urgency that the Judicial Service Commission, which interestingly is chaired by Koome herself, removes her, failure to which there will be disastrous implications for the rule of law. Otieno further states that if the petition is not immediately ventilated and necessary orders made, the damage or harm will be of an immediate, incalculable, and irreversible nature.
Code is intended to establish standards of ethical conduct of judicial officers to be applied consistently with constitutional requirement. That is a legislation from Parliament, hence makes her unfit to hold public office.
The Judicial Service Commission is now expected to consider the petition to see whether it disclosed a ground for the CJ's removal. If it doesn't, the petition will be thrown away. But if it does, the JSC will be required to send the petition to President William Ruto, who within 14 days has to suspend the Chief Justice and form a tribunal chaired by the Speaker of the National Assembly to investigate her. The tribunal is expected to do the investigations expeditiously and present a report with binding recommendations to the head of state. The president has to act in accordance with the recommendations, and if the Chief Justice is aggrieved with the decision of the tribunal, they have 10 days to appeal at the Supreme Court from the day the recommendations were made by the tribunal.
So we are ready as a judiciary to open ourselves for this introspection and to see who is failing in their duty.
All eyes will now be fixated on the Judicial Service Commission to see what decision it makes regarding the petition for the removal from office of Chief Justice Martha Koome, considering no Chief Justice has ever been bundled out of office before. David Muthoka, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, that's the story. Do you want just to, of course, look at it? Is it dead on arrival in this particular petition? Let's hear from Kipruto or Apkiro before we come head of Department School of Law, Daystar, to put it into perspective.
Well, there are a number of things that we need to interrogate. First is the atmosphere that we have created as a nation. We've created an atmosphere that nobody respects the other. Most of the things you are talking about would have easily been sorted out, where had we respected the law, the constitution. For example, the housing levy, that is part of the contention in the judiciary, would have been sorted out if we had followed the right procedure. We started by the president himself saying it's not a tax, it's a levy. Eventually it became a tax, and a tax that does not have any bearing on whoever is contributing, does not give you any advantage, whether you are contributing or not, to own a house or some semblance of a board that can make sense at all. The second issue, and you've seen it even in Nakuru Memorial Hospital, is that we are inviting goons to disrespect court orders. And therefore, the judiciary is being vilified, is being stripped of its respect in a way that we want to emasculate it, the way we've already done Parliament. And as I said the other day, the next place of call is the media. And you saw yesterday that the media was visited by goons in Nakuru, and some of the journalists were roughed up for the same issue of War Memorial Hospital, a situation that has been persistently in court. And if there is anybody who is a fraudster or has any other reasons, the due process must be followed. My worry is that this is destruction of institutions, and any dictator his first place of call is to destroy institutions. Parliament has been destroyed or emasculated, judiciary is being destroyed, and the executive is almost a one-man show. And once that is done, what is left is the media and certain individuals. And individuals, you will hear them crying that the state is visiting them in one way or the other. Some of the people are getting some letters about the need for them to explain their M-Pesa transactions because they are said to be doing business. But M-Pesa means I'm sending money to you, you are sending back to me, because you had borrowed from me or I had borrowed from you, and therefore it is not supposed to be a transaction that is supposed to be captured by KRA. So when all these institutions are meant to threaten individuals in society, it is precipitation of dictatorship. This is my take.
All right, let's hear from Dr. Martin Olo.
We are living in times where I say it's the age of disruption, the age of unreason. Everything that we are hearing from the state, everything we're hearing from the head of government, everything we're hearing from the president is aimed at undermining institutions and aimed at undermining even the Constitution. So, for example, when the president stands and says he cannot be threatened because somebody has offered a view that he does not agree with, he is violating the principle of public participation or the principle of accountability and so on. So when you come to this issue of when the president stands and says the judiciary is corrupt, he is opening up a situation where anybody and everybody with any frivolous or any petition or complaint can petition and therefore begin to work on the removal of the Chief Justice. Now, surely, if the Chief Justice is not fit for office, there's room for such a discussion. But if you're going to open it up to any pettiness or any small thing that happens, for example, what is this petition about? Appointment of tribunals. Is that something that can be corrected administratively? Certainly. Is it something that violates our constitution? No. Is it something that could have been deliberate or an omission? But you see, it's not that.
So it's a very trivial matter.
It's trivial matter.
So we should not even be giving it a much premium as that to
Precisely.
say it.
But the reason why we must is an attack on the president of the judiciary, the Supreme Court. It is a petition against the chairperson of that very Judicial Service Commission. So it actually then throws it into action. It has to be acted on because it's a complaint. So it means that, for example...
And every Kenyan has a right to actually express his frustrations and complaints. Yes.
Absolutely. So you can imagine that now that once that petition has come on, the Chief Justice will be asked to recuse herself so that now the deputy sits and decides whether that petition should be entertained or not. So already that dramatic effect is something that is already achieved in terms of throwing stones at the judiciary, disrupting the order there, and so on. My point is, we are witnessing an unnecessary assault on constitutional institutions. Whether it's the judiciary or whether it's the legislature or indeed even the executive itself, what we have done is thrown up what you call constitutional decency into political expediency, into the political space, so that when you have MPs and your senators openly attacking institutions of the Constitution, which they have sworn to protect, when you have the president himself openly attacking institutions of the Constitution, it means that he and his supporters are not ready to play within the rules of constitutionalism, within the confines of the Constitution. And that is dangerous, because there is the constitutional democracy that we're talking about. But there is also the constitutional dictatorship that we used to have before, where a leader was above the Constitution and dictated. Today, the Constitution dictates what a leader should do. So what we are seeing around the president and his coterie is trying to reinvent another mechanism. And this can take me to the next conversation, which is this IEBC discussion and so on. The moment you sit and begin to discuss legal constitutional issues away from the Constitution, you invite those who care about the Constitution to make a case for its respect. So when you see it being said that, look, those discussions we've been having, those reports that you have about IBC are immaterial.
Because they're not really anchored in the law.
They're not anchored in the law. They're not. It's a conversation we can have on this table, but it's not binding. So the point that
we raised these things.
Of course.
We had discussions on this. Yeah, and we said we were concerned this is just batting our heads on the wall.
And you remember my position on this show from the word go is that the dialogue was unnecessary. And if there was anything that was going to come out of the dialogue, it would be a violation of the Constitution. And that's precisely where we landed. Because anytime opposition and government sit together, their product is certainly going to be unconstitutional. Because when Uhuru and Raila came together, their BBI was some attack or some kind of a mongrel that couldn't fit the BBI thing. And so this one again, when Ruto said, oh, we are discussing, and then Kalonzo sits there and says, we have a report. That report has no legal effect. There's no constitutional basis.
Okay. We want just to look at the issue of the way Kenyans also, they're becoming very litigious. Is it a neurosis that we're having with the Constitution that every simple matter has to be challenged by a petition? The crafting of this particular petition, because the office of a CJ is such a serious office that also it is predicated on the tenure of the CJ in that particular office. Ousting the CJ is not as an easy peasy thing that you can just wake up one morning and say we want to oust the CJ. And when we have these sentiments coming to the public also, it erodes the confidence and the trust that we have in the judiciary, and also putting the office of the CJ in a very bad place where many Kenyans will see her differently, and the aura that goes with the office also will not be respected. As you as lawyers, when you're crafting this particular petitions, because I believe this gentleman has just not woken up and gone to court. I mean, he has consulted a lawyer, and they've said this is the way to go. Are we overplaying our hands when it comes to this petition.
No, but let me say this, now that you're talking about a petition can be
crafted by anyone.
By anyone. And it can be on a piece of paper. There's no even a style of it. Yeah, so petitions don't have to be...
But I'm saying when you want it to be at least within the province, the province of the law, so that it doesn't really like look, this is a ridiculous petition. It violates the constitution.
According to
you will not do a consultation.
Any human rights violation or any constitutional violation, anybody can petition in any manner. You don't have to.
By the way, let me say something that might not be liked by Mayakil here. You know, when you hear lawyers saying they are learned friends, they miss a lot of point here. Because law is not actually a degree. Law is not a qualification as such. Because learned friend meant that law was a second degree.
Deal with him after this.
No. Most of the time.
The legal profession is
no.
It's not even a degree. No, but let him qualify his statement. It's not even finished.
The only profession that's older than law is prostitution.
No, let me tell you, my brother. You see, in terms of when you want to value a contribution,
yes,
you value contribution first, the level of inference somebody makes, and then the value it gives to the client. So the level of inference needed in law is not very high. It's very low, actually. But maybe the value they give is high. For example, I'm in jail, and I'm in a cell. I've been held here for more than 48 hours. You can come and say, according to this article, you should be released. Who does not know that? How much referencing do you need to do to get there? But the impact of removing from court is very big. So, let me just say the following on the issue of Martha Koome, so that I don't get too much into...
Please, don't go into dangerous areas.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say, lawyers need to go for first degree, then law should be second degree, so that they can learn it friends. But if you have one law degree, which is law, then for sure there's a problem. So that means why every Tom, Dick and Harry can draft a petition and take to court, because you do not need to have a law degree to actually become a lawyer. I've won some petitions in court, and for sure you know what it is. Now, on the Martha Koome's case, for me, the political implications is higher, the legal issue is neither here nor there. But this petition raises some serious questions. You'll see the petition will be answered in court by saying, they have raised serious legal issues that need to be integrated. You can see there's a justification there. Whether he will get his answers or not, I do not know. But for me, judiciary lost its own pedestal during William Mutunga, because I remember for those of us who were supporting Raila by that time, we said, now Raila, you're William Mutunga. If there's trouble, go to him. Now, can you say the same in Martha Koome? So during the election in 2027, should there be election lost, can people trust that Martha Koome can be able to adjudicate? For me, that's the most important thing, because that's where we avoid the issue of violence, we bring peace. For me, the office of the CJ should have a lot of sanctity. Should be a place where you know that you'll get justice without favor. In fact, if you look at the core values of judiciary, they are very clear there, and whether they leave them or not. And I think that Martha Koome must have dragged herself into this by looking like she's not very impartial, because you look at what they did in a State House. How can you be hosted in State House, then the statement drafted is drafted by the head of the communication for the president, giving you an office to chair national and administration of justice to give report about the three arms of government? I've never seen such a thing. They say the one who pays the piper calls the tune. Who paid for that breakfast? It was in State House. Who paid for it? You can guess. Who drafted? I can almost tell you that Hussein drafted the statement. Before they came, they just went through it, and then unfortunately signed by Hussein. If three arms of government meet, then Hussein signs a media statement. That is Hussein's. That is not for Justice Service Commission. I see a lot of lack of decorum in her side, because she would have said. She would have come and said, no, we didn't sign that statement. Or she could have said, we were supposed to sign the statement. How can a statement be binding if it's signed by the communication, even the president didn't sign it. It's signed by Hussein. That is Hussein's statement, which was written before. And I found that she needs to look. They say Caesar's wife do not just need to be clean, but also have to look clean. And Caesar's wife here doesn't give me this impression. I think that's my concern. Then, if you look at the issue of what my brother raised here, that's what I wanted to respond immediately. What you raised is a serious issue.
Which is?
The issue of threatening litigants. And I will be saying this very openly. On Saturday before last Saturday,
before last Saturday?
Yes, Saturday before last Saturday.
Okay.
I was just leaving my house just at the gate. Then a Fortuner KDH turned just around me, and I was asked, "Are you Professor Fred Ogala?" Yes, bring your phone. And that's how I lost my previous phone. This is a new phone.
You gave your phone?
Yes. What will I do? 4 people emerge in a car, and you don't know what's a phone. So you give them. Life is more important than a phone. So then you saw what Itumbi did.
We did ask why they're actually asking for your phone.
I think to me that's wisdom.
That's wisdom.
Why you want my phone? Have it, because your life is more important.
4 people emerged.
Were they threatening or?
It was threatening. It was threatening. Even my wife was so scared. We were with her. We were just taking a short walk from the gate. Then after that, Itumbi tweeted just the other day saying, "These are the people who are against the house levy."
Which people? And you being one of them?
Yes, they were put there, front on his Twitter handle. It was there, very clear. I can show you. It's there. I'll show you a picture. It's been trending a lot. I think those are not good things, because when the president does not want to do things within the law, and my advice to the president is simple, this, because instead of dragging everyone to go bad, muddling everybody, there's a book called The One Thing. The president needs to go back to State House and his office, just sit alone and say, what is it that I can do without touching on anything outside the law?
Thank you.
Or touching dependencies on any other person in institutions? He will succeed. But if he spends 5 years trying to find how to do what he wants outside the Constitution, that's the only thing we'll have achieved, but never achieved anything.
You wanted to give a rejoinder to what
to the issue of
disparaging first of all your profession.
I wanted it on record that law is a profession. A law degree is a degree, and there is a process, there's a curriculum towards acquiring it. So you can't say it is just
that was
whatever.
A way to tell
but you see also when you talk about learning,
is disparaging the gravitas or the weight and the efficacy of this degree.
Don't worry.
Is that what
it's what I train.
No, we set up a law school
acquire
so that was
over. Fine. Okay, good. So I want to come back to this. There is a difference between the Chief Justice, the office of the Chief Justice, and the holder of the office. And so let us not look at the current holder and disparage the office together with the person. I think they are 2 different things. There's a difference between the office of the president and the holder of the office. So when you look at the office of the president, the presidency is the head of government, and therefore the president can have a sitting with any other arm of government, whether it's the Chief Justice, whether it's the Speaker. That is...
He's the head of government.
Yes, head of government.
And
government is 3 arms.
Equal.
Listen.
Equal arms.
Listen. Government is 3 arms. The president is the head of government and the head of state. Now, in that manner, he's first among equals. So he can call any of those arms of government, and they can have a meeting. There's no problem. That is the Constitution. What then is the issue is what is the content of the discussion and what is its implementation. Now, the statement you're talking about, which you're making a lot of noise about, had no legal effect, and therefore we cannot even sit on this TV and talk about who signed, who didn't sign. It was simply a press statement telling us what happened. Was it binding to the judiciary?
She was given a role.
Wait.
She was given a role.
No, forget about that. The point is that role of the chair of the National Commission, Administration of Justice.
And that has been her role anyway.
No, that's her role. So that's not given. That's a constitutional
role.
What
are they giving her?
No. You see, let's not follow the white butterflies. Let's deal with the stuff that is in there.
Butterfly again.
You will start, if you are from Kambani, you'll start imagining it is, now witchcraft or what. No. Forget about that. The point I'm making is that there is a role that the Chief Justice plays, and that role is a constitutional role, and there is absolutely nothing wrong. What I have an issue with is if she's demanding that the president should call me. That one I have a problem with.
Right.
Because I believe that in that role, there's consultations happening all the time, there are phone calls happening all the time, and they can talk. The point is, the president should not tell her what to do, because even if he did, she is not capable of telling Justice Debal here what to do, because in that role, the judge also has their own independence. And that is something that we should live with.
Right. Let's hear from Dr. Kalua.
Allow me to believe, and I think it is true, that the good professor doesn't have an issue with lawyers. Please. Because it is a very serious profession. I admire the power that comes with legal systems and the fraternity that is involved in. So I want to believe, and I pray, and I know for sure that he was just joking. He has a lot of respect for lawyers and the profession. I also want to believe that he has no problem at all with one Hussein, who works in State House. Hussein is a very respectable person, a top professional in his space, and he has always done his job. And I'm sure he got to where he did and delivered what he did out of what he has been doing. And we may not even have issues with or details whether he was writing the statement or not. I think that is something that we need to leave professions and what they do in the best way possible. And at least you are a professor in an institution that is highly respected in this country, and you train all those legal minds. But above all, having said that, I'm sorry about what happened to you. I think some of the issues that you're commending are coming from that point of view, and I'm really sorry, and also about many people who have gone through that.
And by the way, did you report it to the police?
You know, last time when we were threatened, went to the police and we were told, you cannot report that thing in the matter. You know, when they wanted me to report, like, I lost my phone just like theft. And I don't think that was a statement. So the issue is, they said, just record it as a normal loss, like you can just lose your phone in the restaurant. And they said anything to mean like, they discriminate. They say, if that's the content, go to the OCS. Then the OCS says, go to OCPD. OCPD, go to the commandant. Then there was no need. You can't spend your whole year trying to record a statement. So this is also what I was telling you.
I think the subject needs to be taken up by the security agents because the threat and security of an individual equals to the country, and therefore it should not be taken lightly. And I'm sure they are listening.
He didn't even take the details of the car, the car registration number.
Yeah. You know, KDH is what I saw.
Huh?
It was a fortune at KDH. Someone cannot come to sell an iPhone with KDH. It's around 5.6 million shillings. Who steals like that? I've never seen someone coming to steal. They told me it's a normal theft. I said, no, it's not normal theft.
It could also be a stolen car by the time that it's getting to you. So anyway, I think it needs to be dealt in a different way.
Because
we should not be...
when I drafted the statement, the way I drafted, they said they cannot give me the OB.
I suggest that you take it up and deal with it. But don't be
dramatic.
Yeah, about it. Just take it normal. I believe this country has got a very good network of policing and the legal framework that follows the Constitution.
Don't be an activist
but you see,
with the police.
now you have taken away my time on what I need to deal with. So let's get here now.
Sure.
Where we are talking of the honorable lady in Madam Koome. Very honorable lady. And a person that I hold in very high esteem, and very good system of judges in this country and the judiciary at large. We need to ask ourselves, where did the rain start beating us as a nation? And there are several issues that we need to start looking at. How do we appoint our judges as a country? Are they politically aligned so that we are unable to try to get issues best way because there is interference at one time or another? What is and that is just about the appointments, the processes. How open is the judiciary in dealing with matters of what they interrogate in their hands? What does the Constitution say about having the judiciary independence, and why would we want to interfere with what they are doing? The Honorable Martha Koome has talked about the independence and the judgment of the individual, which must be respected and will never be compromised, because it is the law that requires of them to be in that manner. How much training are we doing, even within the judiciary and the populace, to understand the importance of all this? My colleague friend earlier on said that he doesn't care what the president says or whatever it is what it is, and it's a good statement. But I think it's time that we started to care what the president says. What? And take it extremely serious, because what the president says at any given time has got far-reaching ramifications, even to the people. There is a statement that he can say, and people will go to the streets and take power in their own hands and be able to mess up. Even if the indications, no, what I'm saying is we must be able to care. I care what the president opens up his mouth to say at any given time.
What if they are untrue statements?
No, that's the more you need to care.
Even if they're lies.
Exactly, the more you need to care, so that you can